Hi, I'm Patty from Cultural Chemistry, and I bet you're dying to know what did everybody say to my question, does culture matter in your Zoom room? Well, nobody said no, it doesn't, but then again, nobody asked if I were available to deliver a course or a webinar about it either. So I guess that leaves the idea of respecting cultural differences in the Zoom room in the same place as intercultural training overall, which is that a lot of people find it really interesting, but only a few of them will actually hire someone to help them make some changes. Anyway, I love this stuff, and I know you do too. So let's crack on and share some conclusions and some stories. When it comes to etiquette, the key message was really that if you wouldn't do it in real life, then don't do it on Zoom. However, the reverse also applied, and there are some things which we can do in real life, but should perhaps not do on Zoom. Take eating, for example, which we often do in company, but on Zoom, you do get pretty close to people's mouths, and there's often an unpleasant soundtrack as well. So maybe one to avoid. Drinking is okay, but use small cups that don't block your whole face. Smoking, interestingly, is still up for discussion, it seems, except by those who obviously hate smoking in any form. Apparently in France, there have been some instances of students not only blatantly smoking, but even blowing smoke at the camera, something that is in complete contrast to the behavior of school kids in Hong Kong, who have to turn up for lessons in their full uniform, have camera and mic on at all times, consume no food or drink, and have bathroom breaks only at specified times. Camera use is part of etiquette, and it was generally felt that it was very rude to turn your camera off and implied that you were either bored, busy doing something else, or perhaps not even there anymore. Several people spoke about the difficulty of talking to a blank screen. In a live meeting, you would never sit with your back to someone or your eyes closed. So personally, I think that if you are still in your pajamas or your gym clothes, that you should perhaps use the phone instead. Some interesting comments about communicating included a wish for people to turn off their shouty voices and not attempt to dominate the meeting by being the loudest. Stories of people being interrupted and talked over were very common, and while people hated the idea of having to put their hand up to speak, at least they ensured that everybody got to have a say. People working in second languages spoke of being, quote, too embarrassed by my English to talk, and one woman wrote, quote, I have been that person who could not get a word in, and I felt so humiliated. When it came to hierarchy, many people concurred that it can be really hard to read the room and work out everyone's place in the pecking order, and that it is not unusual in some cultures for the decision maker to actually say very little. A couple of trainers commented on the difficulty of getting honest input when the space was shared with supervisors, and therefore a separate safe space needed to be created in order to have really open conversations. Finally, there was both good and bad news when it came to building relationships. Some people said that they spoke to clients more often now, but others felt they had either lost or failed to create a relationship because it was just not the same as being in the room. In group meetings, building rapport was a real struggle, as was boredom. And again, second language speakers felt less engaged, but using chat rooms was really recommended to help people to both overcome their shyness and encourage small talk, which seems to be so difficult to do online. I described small talk as a key stepping stone to building a business relationship in one of the videos, and that was a phrase that resonated with lots of people. Most people would agree that meeting on Zoom isn't really much like real life, but when we meet people like us, it's much easier to overcome the differences. The majority of challenges apply to people who are from hierarchical cultures, who are working in second language, who believe that solid business relationships can only be built by spending time together, or believe that silence can convey as much as words. But if this isn't you, it doesn't mean you don't need to worry. It may mean that you are one of the ones that they find difficult to work with. Common sense is not common to all, and it's not, quote, all about respect and civility, as someone suggested, as these are not the same in every culture. Technical issues like lagging and freezing can really derail conversations, and death by PowerPoint is clearly still an issue. In conclusion, I think the rewards, research, reflect, and reach out model I use in my book applies just as much to Zoom meetings as it does to in-person ones. Let's remind ourselves of the rewards. Let's remember to do our research. Let's reflect on our responses and our own behaviours. And let's always think of new ways to reach out. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm love to hear your thoughts and ideas, and please share these. Thanks. Bye.